do it.
Yes. And hello. And welcome. Because today is Thursday. And it's All Hallow Eve's whatever.
Eve.
Yes. Yes. Add lightning.
Boobies. Yeah, add lightning.
Yeah. I am your most spooky co-host of Jared. This is my also spooky co-host,
Anthony.
Yeah, I've got buttons.
Oh, well,
I'll add my own lightning.
We'll fix mine in post.
Wait, was that deep voice or squeaky voice?
It sounded like deep voice, I thought.
Okay, yes, that's what I wanted. Deep voice.
I could make it squeaky in post. I
don't.
I have powers over you right now.
Creative control.
Yeah.
Okay, Hulk Hogan.
Oh, that's rude, isn't it? Oh, so tomorrow's Halloween for our listeners, and we finally have gotten to the end of this month's run through some of the scary games in our backlogs, or revisited some of the games. And I think we'll just start out with the NES classics that I visited that I never played as a kid. We didn't have them. I already talked about Friday the 13th. But I tracked these two others down, wink, with an eye patch on, and well, what did I do with that list? I lost it.
I'll talk to the people.
I really did lose it. What the hell?
Yeah, the one you sent in Discord. I'll ping you.
Oh, I found it. You go ahead. Tell him stuff.
This was the first time we really nailed down a theme, and all of the games we were going to play in that month followed a theme. And I really enjoyed this. I thought this was really fun. So hopefully this episode and kind of the preceding episodes before this all turn out pretty good, because I really enjoyed doing this. I think this is something we should continue doing because, I don't know. We like you've talked about this before. We both have this backlog that we will never get to in 100 lifetimes. I mean, we could spend our entire lives playing video games and we would never get through it. And so having kind of guidelines or parameters really kind of gave us some focus here. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed locking down and playing the games that we had on our lists. And so go ahead and tell the people about the games that you procured legally.
Yes, on the NES. I remember this Friday the 13th game, which we talked about last time, and I just didn't know that there was so many other scary games that were on the NES. The two that really stuck out, because my wife is really big into slashers and stuff, was the main one was Nightmare on Elm Street, the video game. And I was like, what? There's a video game for Freddy? My wife loves Freddy. This is so cool. And so I found this game, started playing it, and I guess it's kind of based on the Dream Warriors movie, which I think is the second one, I think.
Okay.
And I was asking my wife about it, because I was like, yeah, so you'd be you play, it's a four player side scrolling beat 'em up. You can go back and forth, and you quote unquote visit the levels. You're on the street, right? It's probably Elm Street. And there's several locations that you can run to and then push up and go into. And there's enemies coming, and you start out in the quote unquote real world. And the enemies are fairly realistic. And then you have your life meter, and then you have this other meter that's slowly decaying. And once it gets to the bottom, your character technically falls asleep and you enter the dream world. And when you're in the dream world, you can push the select button and turn into a superpower guy. A guy who throws javelins, a ninja, and I think you can get a wizard. I didn't get that far. And it was really fun. I love side-scrolling beat-em-ups. My love for them came from playing Double Dragon on the NES. So this was just more of that for me. I was like, I'm right there in the pocket. But it was really fun. So when you go into the levels, you search for Freddy's bones, because you got to get his bones all in all the stages, and you have to collect 100%. And then you fight a boss at the end of the stage, and it's not too bad. It's pretty easy. I was just shocked by this game. But the best part is you have a secondary meter that's decaying once you fall asleep, and once it gets done, it plays the Freddy jingle. Do 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 you, and then you have to fight Freddy, and if he kills you, then it's game over. But if he doesn't kill you, then you just go back to the level you were in and you just continue on. I was like, this is a great designed game. Like, this is incredible. I was just shocked by how much fun it was. Because the Friday the 13th game is arguably really difficult. Fun, but difficult. But, man, NES games, NES treasures like that. When you find something like that on that system, it just feels so good to play. And just go back and just have that rediscovery of this like system that I was born on,
That's awesome. Yeah, I think there was kind of this back in the day. If a movie came out, there would almost always be a video game tie-in because that was just a part of the merchandising that every movie did. And then there was kind of that stigma that video games are bad, and so they stopped making them. But yeah, back in the day, that's what it was. It would just be a movie would come out. There would be toys, action figures, a video game, all of that stuff. And I remember very distinctly those games being at the rental store that I would go to, and I'd be like, no way, those are way too scary for me. I will stick to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Thank you. Hard pass.
I can't imagine what those games would have looked like on a Sega. Okay. Yeah, we were having that conversation. We're probably going to have to do an episode on Disney games from the NES and the Genesis or the SNES, because you and I talk about the differences. The big one was that Little Mermaid game, because I was like, oh, I just love that Little Mermaid game. You're like, I hated that game. I was like, what? Why? It was really fun. You was from one side of the screen to the other. It's like Mega Man. You shut the bubbles, and you're like, no. You swim around like a dolphin. I was like, what? I thought that was super interesting that they were so different, but we'll revisit that idea. The next game on the NES game, so I only have two here, is the Beetlejuice game. And this had to be some kind of like cross, like this was like the show. There was the movie, and then there was like a cartoon show for kids. And this had to be like the link between the two, because obviously in the movie, if you've never seen Beetlejuice is kind of the bad guy. He's only in the movie for like 11 minutes. It's amazing that he had such a lasting effect. But then in the cartoon, Beetlejuice and Lydia are like best friends, and they hang out all the time, and she calls him, and then they go on adventures. Well, in this game, you play as Beetlejuice, but it's set in the movie. And you're going around and you got to get the scares. You have to buy scares. So you stomp on little bugs. And it's just like a platformer. And it was so simple, but it was so fun and pretty forgiving. You find an NES game that's forgiving. That's also pretty insane. Like you die and you don't get sent all the way back to the start. Like, what the fuck? Did you just put me at a checkpoint in an NES game? What the hell?
That's crazy. Yeah. That's, I mean, like back in the day, you didn't have save states. You had passwords. You would type it in at the main menu screen, and that would get you back to the start of the level that you last played. Yeah, that's crazy that it would have save states, or very rudimentary versions of save states.
Now, I didn't get to play that one that long. I could have spent more time on it. I would like to. I probably will go back and play it some more because it was just really fun. But I don't know, man. I just love the NES. Going back and playing some of those old NES games. I got distracted during Spooky Month and may have played some Bomberman and some Mega Man X. We can thank Zero for that. He put me on to the Mega Man X one night, and then the next day I was playing Bomberman. I'm like, what am I doing? It's getting spooky.
Focus.
We still had some hangover from the previous episode. I think you wanted to talk about State of Decay.
Yeah, so I didn't actually get to play this month, but this is a game that I love because this is right up my alley, where essentially what happens is you start the game. There's no story. There is no progression of the story or anything like that. So you get dropped onto a map, and your character is randomly generated, and your goal is to essentially build up a base and go out into the town and get supplies, and the entire town is infested by zombies. And at different points, the houses will have different supplies and different outposts and things like that. And it's got base building and all of that. But instead of it being like freedom where you can build whatever you want, a la The Sims or Fallout 4 or something like that. The base building is pre-constructed um, zones. So you decide what you build, and then those pre-constructed structures build inside of your base. And I love that because we've talked about this before. I struggle with designing things. Like I'll go online and I'll look stuff up and I'm like, that looks awesome. I'm going to make that in my game. And then I go to do it and I get really pissed off because I can't do it. And then I stop playing the game forever because I get so mad that I'm not creative and I can't make things. So this game allows me to do that, which is build up this base and make it look cool and have all of the things that I want. But then there's also the bonus side of it where you're finding survivors, leveling them up, giving them kind of an upgrade tree, and then you can switch between them to go out and make supply runs. And like I said, there's no story, there's no reason for doing this. The reason is to just play the game and to try to build up your base and try to last as long as you can. And eventually you are either going to run out of supplies and you need to move to a different map, or you just die. And then it's like, well, that person's dead. Move on to the next character. And that's it. That's the game. And I love it for that. It's just so simple. And the first game, I believe, did have a very loose story about the military collapsing and, it's about the zombie apocalypse and all of that stuff. But the second one, they just completely dropped it and they were just like, go have fun. That's what you wanted to do anyway. We're not even going to put any story in there. You just go have fun.
We talk about this sometimes. It's like a game you can just like turn on and start playing. I feel like these NES games and this game really kind of snap together, right?
Yeah.
In that, like, I'm gonna just sit out, I'm gonna play a game, and if I get interrupted, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, literally, if your guy dies, like if your guy gets bitten, and you don't have a zombie cure, and they die, it's just like, oh well, I've got more. I'll just use somebody else next time.
Yeah, who cares?
Oh well.
Okay. Well, yeah, I never played that. I don't know anything about that.
It's a very strange game. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend you watch someone else play it and see if that's something that you like. Because literally, the level up stuff is very rudimentary. You basically pick between different perks, and the guns and all of that stuff are very, it's not like it's groundbreaking or anything like that. I think one of the guns that you could get was like a fireworks launcher or something like that. But I mean, other than that, it's like the very standard guns that you would see in any zombie game. So it's nothing special, but at the same time, like in my mind, that's what makes it so fun, is just the idea of like, oh, cool. This is it's like a B movie, it's not meant to be, like a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or something like that. It's meant to be Dawn of the Dead. You watch it and it's cheesy and it's gory and it's like, oh, that was fun.
It's like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
I think we talked a little bit about that, Left 4 Dead. I don't think we spent a lot of time on it.
I don't know. I don't listen to our episodes.
Please just look back in the notes.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. They're all the way up there.
Okay. So we did have some homework this month that we were supposed to work on. I had 2 games, well, really 3 to roll through, which was the Parasite Eve 1 and 2. They've been on my backlog since the damn PlayStation. I've had those games sitting in a drawer. I don't know when we bought them. We bought them on sale. I know we got them secondhand because Parasite Eve is 2 discs on the Sony PlayStation, and they would sell, those 2 disc holders. It would come in that, but this one was in 2 separate jewel cases. So, you're like, oh, okay, that's secondhand right there. Yeah, they just brought the discs in loose. But we had the booklet though. That's always a big boon. Especially with the further back you go, the booklet becomes more and more important for information about the game, tutorial information, story information, possibly items, sometimes even like how to beat the game is in the booklet, and you just don't read it, and you're like, oops. I had to do that in Dead Space, but we'll talk about Dead Space after. I was playing Parasite Eve. This is the strangest. It's technically a trilogy, but the third one is actually like a spin-off. But the first two games, they are set in the same universe, same main character, but they're like completely different like gameplay styles. I just was just like, what the fuck is going on? The first game is really fun though. Like I expected to sit down and I just couldn't remember how the game played. I was like, I don't remember how this game plays. It was like it's like Resident Evil or something maybe. I don't remember. And no, it's not. It's there's no tank controls in this one. You when you enter a fight, it's like a random battle. Like you run into a room and then you're in a fight, but it's on the map. So kind of like Chrono Trigger. Maybe that's still a little old for some folk, but the monsters they'll appear on the map that you're on, and then the map becomes the battlefield. And the way that you fight is you get a bar that fills up over time, and when you do your attack, you push a button and you can decide to shoot your gun. You can use your magic. You get kind of like a magic. It's like your parasite energy or psychic energy. It doesn't really. I don't remember. It's just PE on the screen, and I was not following my own mantra of reading the booklet. But I beat this game because it's real short. It's just like any other scary game in the 90s. Where it's like real short. It's really body horror, really graphic, but very approachable for someone like me who's like gets really scared in these kind of old games like this, or even in new games. I still get scared. But man, it was really cool. The story's really cool. I couldn't believe the amount of CGI, we would call them CGI videos that were throughout this game. It was just like incredible. I was just like, wow. I can't remember if you said you played this game.
Yeah, so I played the first one, but I didn't beat it. And this was a very confusing game because I think this was maybe something that I rented, trying to decide whether or not I wanted to buy it or not. And I played it, and I remember thinking, "Oh man, this was a ton of fun to play." And then for whatever reason, I just never ended up buying it and finishing it. But yeah, so I played a little bit of the first one. I did not play the second one, and I definitely didn't play Third Birthday.
The other thing that always intimidated me about the original game, Parasite Eve 1, was the weapon system was really confusing. Even with like reading stuff that people have posted, it took me several hours of gameplay to really figure it out, and I just kept saving stuff up, like never use the elixir kind of guy anyway, so I might need it in the next fight. So I had all these. So the way that you upgrade the guns, that's your main weapon, unless you're using the Tonfa, the police Tonfa, because you play as a detective. I guess I should preface that. If you've never played Parasite Eve, you play as a detective, Ea Brea, and she ends up being like immune to whatever the hell's going on with this weird monster stuff that's going on. So let's leave it at that in case you want to visit this game. But the weapon system, like you go to the gun guy in the police station, and he can like tool your weapon, and so you have to have tools, and those are the items. And so when you use a tool, you can take something off of one gun and put it onto the other gun, but that gun and the tool are destroyed in the process. So you have to be pretty careful about what you move to where. And then you get these bonus points that you can spend on upgrading the guns, like stat numbers, and those are permanently on that gun, so you have to use a tool to move the stats over if you decide to change guns. So I'm like just running around, like every time I get a gun that's an upgrade, I just throw my previous gun in the bank. And I'm just like struggling to kill stuff, and finally I just break down. I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking pick one of these guns and I'm just gonna upgrade it all the way. I just finished killing this one really tough boss, and I was like, man, that was a tough boss. I felt like I was in that fight forever. I think you were watching me fight it. And went back to the police station and dumped all of these awesome stats from different guns onto one like submachine gun thing. It was like an MP5 or something. And then the next fight I got into, I just shredded the enemies. I was like, oops, I should have been upgrading that. Hey, whoops. The game got a lot easier after that, boss. And so it was really fun. I really liked it. I would have liked to see more. I'm going to say the little spoiler here about the magic. The final spell you get is called Liberate, and it's basically a devil trigger. if you've played Devil May Cry, and you just transform into this like blue angel bitch, and you just start fucking shit up. It's so cool. I was like, this is the fucking coolest. I was like, this fucking game is awesome. There's a whole second ending that I didn't unlock because I would have had to play through the game again and do this secondary dungeon that gets unlocked on the New Game Plus. You get to take all your stuff with you, so your souped up gun, your souped up armor, and go into a new playthrough, and it unlocks this building called the Chrysler Building, and it's a 70 floor. I think it's procedurally generated dungeon, or at least it's randomized, and the monsters are randomized, so it's kind of tough, and you have to build up your stuff to get through it. So I just kind of, I was like, I don't have time. I got to play Parasite Eve 2. Like, I don't have time for this. So I went on to the second one.
Dude. Yeah, I remember, I think I started watching you when you got to the ending of the first one. And it's just a product of its time, you know what I mean? Like, everything in that game looked like a PlayStation 1 game. There were a bunch of helicopters. Everybody was wearing leather jackets. You know, it was just a pure PlayStation game, and I loved that. I mean, that's the theme that I love. And so watching you play it was kind of like I said, going back to that time when I was going back to a time when I was renting video games and playing video games, and that was just a part of the PlayStation 1 culture. And it was just a cool game. We talked about how it kind of has those ties to Final Fantasy VII, and it just feels in that same vein of cool PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of the Wikipedia fucking late night scrolling that I do. So obviously we've done that retro replay. I think we called it a deep dive, but we're rebranding that, folks. But talking about Final Fantasy VII and how Final Fantasy VII wanted to be set in New York, and they wanted to have like a detective, and they wanted to have this like, alien thing going on, and like this is that game. It's like the book. So there was a book for Parasite Eve that it came out in 95, I think. And so we got 95, and then we got 97 is Final Fantasy VII, and then 98 is Parasite Eve 1, and then 99 is Parasite Eve 2. And it's just incredible to also see like Squaresoft's like polish. They just had such polish back then. And Final Fantasy VII was an extremely awesome looking game. Not but a year later, here's Parasite Eve, and it looks incredible. The graphics in this game are incredible, but the setting was just so set in real life. Like, even the guns, I was kind of shocked. I thought they were just made up numbers and letters put on these guns. Like, I had no idea, and I started saying it to you and Drin, and both of you guys know about guns, and you're like, oh, that's a real gun. I was like, what? Oh, yeah, MP5, that means it's just, and then I said some other abbreviation. You were like, yeah, that means it's silenced. It's got a silencer on it, or this is the caliber. And I was just like, what? This is crazy. Like, there were so many guns in that game, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And it just had everything that I like. And so it got, you got the scariness, but then you got the RPG elements. If I was going to play a scary game, that was the one for me. It was just like, oh man, revisiting that was amazing.
I think that had to have been a different time period as far as like copyright stuff goes, because like you were playing through the game, and you found it was like you find a can of pop or whatever, can of soda, and it was a Coca-Cola can. Like, the picture was very clearly a can of Coca-Cola. And we were both just like, what the heck? Are you allowed to do that? They didn't call it Coca-Cola, obviously, but that's what it was. I mean, it literally said Coca-Cola in the picture, but the item description said, it's just a can of cola or whatever. There's no way you could get away with that now, right? Like, no way.
I have no idea. I don't know if that was a product placement, like purposely. That was Parasite Eve 2, by the way. And like the graphics,
okay, gotcha.
The graphics jump from 1 to 2 is incredibly insane. Like, I'm thinking like the Final Fantasy games, and the graphics jumps in those, they were pretty intense. But Parasite Eve 1 and Parasite Eve 2 are just visually so different. And it's just like, what? This looks crazy good. Like, these graphics are crazy good. But that, I attribute that to Squaresoft's like polish at the time. They were always just like, they just had such good graphics, I always thought. But here's the other anecdote about these games is 1 and 2 play so differently. They're like different games. It's like a different genre. Like the first one's like an RPG, like an action RPG almost. Not quite. It's still got the, you know, the turn base where you're waiting for your gauge to fill and then you can do an action. This one is more in line with Resident Evil. You got tank controls, which is so weird to go from this other, just like you spin the control stick around, whatever, to tank controls. They did the whole fixed cameras like Resident Evil, where you walk around the corner and the camera angle was a pop slap change, you know. And it's like, okay, that's a little more scary. Not really. Some of the enemies are much more difficult to deal with. There's no like turn based. You just start pulling the trigger, and it's got like its own lock on system. But the difference between like Resident Evil and this game is you've got fucking magic, and you got 4 schools of magic. And they're set in the 4 elements: fire, wind, water, earth. Yeah, it was just like, what the fuck? I still haven't finished this game. I intend to finish it. It's just been really fun. It's just so different, though, than the first game. And I'm just like, I kind of want it to be back like the first one a little bit, but I really am enjoying this. I'm not really mad about it. I'm just like confused. I don't know. It's been really fun to play it, though. And again, it's got this one's even more so. So in Parasite Eve 1, all ammo is just ammo. And you just collect ammo and then you reload your guns from the ammo. And this one, you have ammo specific to each weapon. But I haven't seen any way to upgrade the weapons. You just get better guns. And then they take certain ammo. And then each gun kind of has like a variety of ammo. Like there's, for the shotgun, you've got buckshot, you've got slugs, I think, and then this like dragon breath style shotgun ammo where it shoots fire. I still haven't even fired that ammo because I'm like, it's cool, I better just keep it. Typical.
Yeah, old RPG habits coming back.
Yeah.
Watching you play this has rekindled my desire to play these games. I really want to add Parasite Eve 1 and 2 to my backlog and play them.
Yeah, I could see if I wasn't like trying to like seriously take on my backlog, I could see me playing this every October. At least the first one. Definitely. Probably the second one too. I don't know. It's been really fun. I'm sure this is how most people feel when they're playing Resident Evil. Like no fear, just like kind of annoyed by the tank controls. Like I can't get out of the way of the stupid like enemies that charge you, but I'm just like, it's part of the game. You know, brain's a little slow in this game, I guess. But it's really cool. I like that there's a little bit of self-expression in the spell choices and weapon choices. But I feel like that there probably is like an ivory tower or cookie cutter like way to play it. But I don't care. I'm just it's fun. That's the other thing is not using a guide as heavy. I stopped doing that. I don't know. Just like changed. Something changed in me. I stopped using guides as heavy anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm revisiting old games and that like it's triggered the old brain. Like, well, I'm just gonna play through it. If I get stuck, well, we're stuck. Run around for an hour.
Well, the section that I saw you get stuck in, it was like there's scratches on the floor and there's a bookcase that's bolted down. If only I had a tool. And then you ran back to the tool shed and it was like, I can't use these tools without asking permission. And it's like, okay, Jesus. So then you run back and you ask permission and then you run back to the tools and it's like, I hope he's okay with me. It's like, come on, lady, just grab the tools. Somebody's in trouble.
Yeah, because you get to that bookshelf, and on the other side of that bookshelf, there's a woman screaming. She's going, "Wah! Wah!" And you're like, maybe we should just go out front and break the window. You know, like why are we going through this sidewall with a fucking monkey wrench? Oh, that was ridiculous. Fucking, I know what the tools are. We can't use these tools without permission. Go ask the guy, can I use a tool? Yeah, they're in the garage. Oh my fucking god, run back down the fucking road. I mean, it's like a fucking
Please.
mile down the road to get to Red.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Oh my gosh.
I do got to give this one little spoiler about Parasite Eve 2 as well. The fucking enemy that's in that room has a fucking gunblade. Like, I was just like, what the fuck is this? Fucking Final Fantasy VIII, clearly. I couldn't believe the gunblades in that game. I was just like, what the fuck? Nomura!
Yeah. I see you. I know
Yeah.
you're back there somewhere.
Yeah, I couldn't get over the Coke can either. I thought that was so fun. I was like, this is a fucking Coca-Cola. I was like, that's the old design. I love the old design. It's preserved in games that no one plays. Just briefly going to talk about Third Birthday. So obviously the first two games are loosely based on this novel. I can't remember the author's name. If you just type in Parasite Eve book, you'll find it. And I don't know if they had the license for it. They must have lost it. But also, like, maybe they don't want to continue down trying to, keep making their own IP and within somebody else's IP. So they make this game called Third Birthday, and the main character is still Aya Brea. But it's so weird. I only played it for like maybe an hour earlier today to prepare to talk about it a little bit because just wanted to bring it up. I kind of fell in love with the Parasite Eve games here, so I wanted to at least be able to say something about it. And it's a third person action game. Plays like it's a phone game, but it was a PSP game. And it's so weird. Apparently you like go back in time somehow with a machine. It's like very, I don't know. And Aya Brea can like jump into people and change events of history. And there was like this big invasion of these things they were calling the Twisted. And you could like take over different guys and jump into their bodies and then just start fighting the monsters. But then you could like focus your energy and then have everybody attack one thing and kind of like a horde attack from all the other soldiers that you can inhabit in each little battle sequence. It's kind of cool, but it's so far away from what Parasite Eve 1 was. So it's just such a weird little trilogy of games where each game is like completely different than the last one, and about the only thing that links them together is Aya Brea. Like, you didn't even get any of the other characters from Parasite Eve 1 and 2. I think, well, actually, I've heard that Medea, he's like the scientist, is a good guy in the first one, is brought into this one, Third Birthday, and I think he's like a panty sniffer, which is not who he was in the first one at all. So I think fans were a little mad about that. The second one, we don't get any of the characters except for like cameo fucking little one-liners like, oh, I wonder what Daniel would have thought about that. I don't want to spoil what happens at the end of Parasite Eve 1, but motherfucker, they ought to have had Daniel in a little bit more than just a fucking little line.
That's such a weird way to treat the franchise. And I get it wasn't super popular. You know what I mean? Like this wasn't Final Fantasy or Resident Evil or anything like that. But what a weird way to treat this series where it's almost used as like they're almost like experimenting with games and just being like, slap the Parasite Eve name on there, see if it works. You know, instead of like you said, almost like honing that down. Because I'm really interested in the first game having almost like your gun being something that you level up and grows as a part of a character, and then to completely abandon that in 2, that's such a weird way to treat the series. I don't know. That's weird. That's a weird series.
Yeah, I just really feel like the first one, somebody told them to make a scary game. They make Parasite Eve, but we're talking about one of the biggest like names in like RPGs in the West, at least. So they're only really know how to make an RPG game, and then they must have played a bunch of Resident Evil games at that point. All 3 of them, I think, had been out at that point. I don't remember when 3 came out. And so obviously Parasite Eve 2 was more in line with probably what they wanted to do with Parasite Eve. But it's still very JRPG, like But I don't want to spend any more time on that because we got to talk about Dead Space, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you want to get to the homework that you were doing. And we're just talking about my homework right now, which was my other one was Dead Space 2023 remaster, remake, whatever. I think going into this, I said a lot of stuff like I was mad about like Isaac talking and stuff. By the end of it, I was totally fine with it. I thought it added a lot to a remaster remake that made it different. You know, we keep saying remake but not replace. Like I could see you wanting to play both of them because it's not like the 2008 version of this game doesn't still hold up. It's still a very fun game, and they made some incredible like quality of life changes. It's just like what we always talk about. If they're gonna make changes, I hope they're quality of life stuff. So like the pulse rifle, which became the weapon that I didn't even care about, just threw it in the trash. It at least didn't have that like AOE like 360 like bullet rain move. It had like a grenade launcher. Felt more like a military weapon. I don't know. But playing that game, man, the anxiety and anxiousness that I had when I played scary games was still there. I don't care. They're not zombies, but I was fucking scared the whole time. The whole 20 hours I played that, I was just like very on edge.
But when I first played Dead Space, so my kind of like top 10 obviously is always evolving. My top 10 favorite games of all time is always shifting and moving, and as you play things, some things become more important, some things become less important. For the longest time, the Resident Evil games sat in my top 10, and they were like, these are the best scary games, zombie games. They're the best. They're the king. Nothing will ever dethrone them. And when I played Dead Space, the 2008 version on PlayStation 3, I played that, and it immediately became my favorite scary game. It was amazing. It was bar none my favorite game. And like you said, Isaac was a non-voiced protagonist, silent protagonist. He was an engineer, not fit for combat, and I loved him. It was the best game. And so when I heard that the remake they were going to give him a voice, I was very hesitant. I was very afraid that meant that they didn't understand what the game was about. And then watching you play it, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think his voice adds something rather than detracts, because in my mind, the reason that Isaac was silent was because the majority of the game you are isolated away from everyone else. So you go to the Ishimura with a group of people to fix it. There's an SOS call. You're sent in to fix it with this group of people. You get there and you're immediately attacked, and you realize everything's gone wrong. And so you're separated from your group, you're separated from your party, and they're sending commands at you over the radio. And because Isaac was a silent protagonist, it allowed you, the player, to voice Isaac's thoughts. You were Isaac. I'm playing Isaac, so I can respond. So when they would say, "Hey, Isaac, we need you to go down to engineering and get the engine started back up," well, Isaac doesn't respond because he's a silent protagonist. And so you, the player, go, "Oh, heck no, I just went down to engineering. It's full of zombies. We're not going back down there." But obviously Isaac doesn't say those things. And so you are internalizing. I think they did a really good job. They obviously used the same voice actor that was in Dead Space 2 and in 3. And so I thought that was another nice touch that they kept that going. And the voice actors across the board in that game are amazing. They do such a good job of making the game sound terrifying, let alone how it looks. The game sounds terrifying, and that's one of the things I loved about it.
Yeah. A little anecdote here too about the voice actors. I didn't know this in the original. The characters were modeled after the voice actors that they had. Not all the voice actors reoccurred in this remaster, but Isaac does from 2 and 3, and they modeled the faces after of the new voice actors in this game. And then Isaac's face was remodeled to look like his voice actor, which I thought was a really nice touch, to give credit where credit's due there, on that character. And one of the things that I enjoyed about him voice acting, and they rewrote the lines. There's definitely some differences in story. So again, that's why I'm like, you should play both. But like when you get those moments where it's like, damn, we don't know what's going on with the ship. What do we got to do? And then Isaac is the one that suggests things to how to fix things. He's the expert. He's the engineer. He knows how to fix things. And just his determination and fearlessness is really insane. And you start to think about like what kind of like things those engineers have to do that work on those like Titanic like ships that like break stuff. Like he's not afraid to enter zero gravity with just his spacesuit on with only 90 seconds of air. The dude is like, yeah, I might die. This is a Tuesday for me. What am I going to use my plasma cutter to cut off the arms of a fucking giant Leviathan? Like, I give a fucking shit. Like, you're just like, oh, fuck, he's scary, boss. Like, oh, okay. So it gives him a little more context, I think, to his character, which was interesting.
I agree. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I was very hesitant about the remake for that reason, because I thought, they didn't understand the character. I thought they were just making a remake to make a remake, and they were changing things just to make changes. And like you said, I think it's for the better. I think now that I've watched you play that game, I now, have much more respect for the remake and will go back and play it on my own eventually. That was one I really enjoyed. I loved the original Dead Space. I loved watching you play the remake. I loved how they toyed just enough with your expectations of how the old game played and worked, and then added some new things, added some fresh twists. It was really fun. It was really fun to watch you play a game when I know you don't like scary. Well, I think you enjoyed playing the game, but I think you hated the way it made you feel.
Oh yeah,
and not that I enjoyed watching you suffer, but I enjoyed the game for what it was, which was essentially watching you get to enjoy one of our favorite games of all time.
I don't know what changed in me, but I loved the 2008 Dead Space when it came out. I loved that game. I loved Resident Evil 4 when it came out. I think they made me a little scared back then, but I don't know. Maybe something I'm old. I don't know. Maybe I just decided that, you know what, I'm tired of getting scared of games in general. It felt good to play that game. It felt as good as it did to play the original game. Everything moves really good visually. And I don't want to spend any more time on this because I want to talk about your homework here because we're running out of time. But
well, I'll jump in here then, and
go ahead.
I'll get going. So this was not one that I played for homework. This is one that I pulled from the previous list, but I think it absolutely deserves an honorable mention because I spoke about this all the way back when we did our cozy game episode, and I know this sounds crazy that a scary zombie game can be my cozy game, but the Telltale Games Walking Dead series is one of the greatest video game stories, I think, of all time. And it follows the story of Lee Everett. He is a man who the game starts and you are being arrested because you murdered your wife and the man that she cheated on you with, and you are getting taken to prison. And the cop is basically talking to you as you are driving to prison, and he's basically saying, so are you going to say you didn't do it? And the theme of the game is you can choose to be honest or you can choose to lie. And the character interactions and the way that you interact with the world, there is no morality system. There is no, you're the good guy, you're the bad guy, whatever. Bad things will always happen in these games, no matter what. It's a choose your own adventure story. It's if you never played a Telltale Games game before, it's a point and click adventure essentially, and then when there's action scenes, there's quick time events. But the story follows Lee Everett, and while he is getting taken to prison, the car crashes and the zombie apocalypse starts, and he's free. He's no longer a murderer. He's just another human surviving the zombie apocalypse. And while he is trying to escape, these zombies attack the police car, and he's trying to escape. He finds a little girl, and he's like, "Hey, come with me. Let's get out of here. I'll take care of you." And the girl's like, "No, I don't want to leave. My parents told me to stay at the house." And Lee, while you are investigating the house, you hear on the phone recorder that essentially the girl's parents are I think you either find out that they're dead or that they're not coming back, and you can either choose to be honest. Again, you can choose to be honest, or you can choose to lie and be like, "Hey, we need to get out of here. Like, if you stay here, you're going to get eaten by zombies." And so the story is the story of Lee and Clementine, the girl, basically just trying to survive. And it goes through. I believe it very loosely ties in with the Walking Dead comic books. It's just an incredible story. I think they made the first game. I think there were 2 or 3 sequels that came after that. Incredible games. But I didn't play those, not for my homework. My homework was The Last of Us. I played The Last of Us Part 1 remastered, and then I played The Last of Us Part 2 remastered for my homework. And oh boy, this one was polarizing because I think by far this game is a 10 out of 10. It's if you own a PlayStation, you should play it. If you own a PlayStation 4, you should play it on PlayStation 4. If you own a PlayStation 5, play it there. But the part 2 was such a polarizing game. It essentially follows Ellie after the what happens in part 1. If you haven't played part 1, I won't spoil it. We're gonna save that for a retro rewind, retro replay, whatever we're deciding to call it. But part 2 is Ellie going on a revenge tour, and you and I both immediately attached to characters. I immediately attached to Ellie. You immediately attached to Abby. And I don't want to go super in depth on my analysis of the game or anything like that because I want to save it for the episode that we're going to do. But this game, you described it perfectly, which was it hits in the same way as Grave of the Fireflies. When we got to the end of the game, we both sat silently and we were just like, "Oh my gosh!" Like we were broken by this game. Like the game makes you feel for these characters and you feel what they feel. That you feel angry, you feel mad, you want revenge. And then when you flip over and you play as Abby, you're like, I don't care about this character. I just want to play as Ellie. And then you start to care about the character and it's like, okay, fine. I care about Abby now. And then you switch back to Ellie and it's like, oh, can we please just have linear storytelling? I don't understand this non-linear storytelling. And then you get to the end of the game and it was just like, ugh, it was such an exhausting story, but an amazing story. And I loved it. And I know you got to watch it and you watched a couple of videos about it. I don't know how much in depth you want to go into for this, but yeah, I know you enjoyed watching it just as much as I enjoyed playing it.
What I thought was really funny, like, you had gotten through Last of Us, which we have talked about multiple times, his journey of the 100%. The 12 by 13
Awful.
weeks or whatever, 2 by 13 weeks, like fucking that terrible journey. But the gameplay, beautiful, awesome. So you start playing Last of Us 2, and I'd already spoiled it for myself because I just figured I'd never play this game. Too scary. So it's obviously a big treat to watch you play because then I don't have to hold the controller. And I think both of us were like, we don't like Abby. Like, she's gonna die. Like, that's gonna kill that bitch. How dare she do the thing she did in the story? And by the end of it, I was like, Abby strong. Me like Abby. And I just think it was so interesting that because after reading like everything about it, but without experiencing the story, I just remember you got to the end of the game and I just kept saying, that's so insane. That's so insane.
Yeah.
And I think we were in chat with our friends, Drin and Foxy and Zero. And I think we had kind of like stepped out of that and we were stuck in the ending. And I couldn't hear that myself that I was saying something, but I heard them saying that and it kind of snapped me back in that we were in chat with them. And I was just like, God damn, dude. Like, I don't think I ever want to see the end of this game ever again. I don't think I ever want to see the end of what happened in a certain section of that game again.
It's awful. It's objectively awful. Yeah.
There's other aspects though I would see again that I liked, that I thought were cool, that I thought the gameplay was really interesting and awesome. I loved the distinguish between the characters. And I don't want to go into more of it because we're going to do that on a retro replay. But going back to your little bit on the Walking Dead and Telltale, the only Telltale game that I ever played was The Wolf Among Us. and that was an incredible. That one probably could have got in here on the spooky games, because the main antagonist in that game is Bloody Mary. And when I was a little kid, I remember somebody telling me that Bloody Mary story. I mean, I had to have been maybe 7 or 8. So I thought that was real for a long time. If you said Bloody Mary 3 times in a mirror, she'd come out and kill you. So her being in that game, I was like, it's Bloody Mary. Only I was an adult, and I was like, let's kill her, let's get her. Get him, wolf guy, big bad wolf. So that was cool. I loved that game. But so yeah, if you like Walking Dead and Telltale, they don't require a lot of skill to play. They're pretty, like you said, point and clicky, and you have to make decisions really fast. So fun games. But I gotta agree with you on The Last of Us. I think it's a more modern. It's still older now at this point, but it's a more modern classic now at this point. If you're like the cinephile of gamers, I don't know what that word is. Whatever it is for gamers, like this is a must play for that. But if you're not into that style of gaming and you're not into the gaming history stuff like that, then you can skip it. That's fine. Just watch somebody else play it like I did.
Yeah. I think the themes are the themes that this game covers aren't for everyone, and the storytelling is absolutely infuriating. I was basically, what happens is every time there's a point of tension in the story, it cuts to a flashback, and they do that because the story is written by, I believe his name is Neil Druckmann, the guy who did the Game of Thrones story on HBO. And so he wrote this story as if it was a TV show, thinking like, oh, that will add tension. Like what happens next, and audience will be on the edge of the seat. Really, all it did was piss me off because I'm still playing the game. And now instead of like figuring out what happens and using that tension to play the game, you go into this flashback it's not that it doesn't matter, but it's very slow paced. And then you come back to the scene later, and all of those emotions are forgotten. And it's like, what the heck, man? Just tell the story in a straight line. Why does everything have to be nonlinear? It didn't make any sense. But that being said, I think even with all of those negatives, it's still in my mind. It's right on par with God of War in that tier of must play PlayStation games. And it was originally a PlayStation 4 game, and then it got remastered on PlayStation 5. I highly recommend the PlayStation 5 edition. That's graphically, it might be the best console game I've ever played. And control-wise, it was great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was just insane.
Oh my God. It was coming through the Discord stream for me, and I still was just like jaw open. Wow. That's pretty. Abby pretty. Abby have big gun. that was the Abby voice every time she was on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to sit here and continue to talk about Last of Us, because I think we have a lot to talk about on that. And so Anthony's going to be preparing a direction for us on that. So be on the lookout for that retro replay. I don't know when we'll get it out to you, but there's probably one that'll come out before that, and that'll be the Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PlayStation with our special guest. And maybe he'll decide to reveal his real name on mic. We'll see. But we hope that you have a happy Halloween tomorrow. I don't know. I don't have anything to say. We've already kept him too long. This is the longest we've kept him.
Oh, oops. My bad.
No, it's fine. They can turn us off. Oh, no, wait. Don't turn it off. Wait a minute.
Wait. Our sponsors.
Hey, did I cuss in the first 30 seconds of this?
I don't remember.
Me neither.
Maybe?
And the editor will figure that out.
Yeah.
It's me.
Either way. Spoiler alert.
All right. Well, we'll catch you next month, technically. November, whatever is Thursday, first Thursday. We'll see you then, folks.
A very spooky see ya.
See ya.